What do you know of Lord Panswick?
Oh, yes. A rather important fellow around here. His vast land holdings give many a steady employment.
I hear he is renovating an old chapel on his land.
Aye, I've heard such reports. He believes this to be a godless land. Something I wholeheartedly disagree with. To which god his chapel will be dedicated to remains a matter of concern.
Why do you say that?
Oh, my apologies. Don't listen to my oafish conjecture. Let us move on.
I'm ready to go to Mr. Shoulder's house.
Excellent. I feel the fresh air will do me well. Follow me.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning, Mrs. Duplancy. Mrs. Duplancy, this is Thomasina Bateman, a visitor to our parish.
We've already had the pleasure of meeting, Father.
Excellent. Miss Bateman, don't hesitate to try one of Mrs. Duplancy's wonderful cakes.
Yes, I've heard about her famous Bakewell puddings.
I'll be here all day, young lady. But remember, once they're gone, they're gone. Those little whelps have already gobbled up all the gingerbread.
You are doing God's work, Mrs. Duplancy.
He smiles upon us, Father.
Miss Bateman, if you'd like to follow me. Let's talk of graves, of worms, and epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes, write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Let's choose executors and talk of wills.
Shakespeare?
Quite. Which play?
Richard II?
Correct. You are well read, Miss Bateman. Studying the work of the bard is one of my favorite pastimes. Follow me. Behold, the vast expanse of God's creation. The moors extend as far as the mortal eye can see. Beautiful, is it not?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
The beauty of God's creation is that it takes so many forms. How can one take in such a view and not have faith? Some look at these moors and think this a godless land. But I tell you, he is found in all domains. The Lord's work is all about us. Tell me, Miss Bateman, do you believe in God?
I was brought up Anglican. The church was an important part of my early life, Father Roach. But what happened to my father eventually made me question things.
If you don't mind me asking, my child, what happened to your father?
He had an accident when I was very young.
Come along now, Thomasina. Let's get out of the rain. Remember what I told you, all right? Be a good girl. People are unwell here. They don't want to hear you running about making noise. Understood?
Yes, Mother.
Good. And don't annoy the nurses.
I promise I won't.
Good. Now, let's see your father.
Mummy is crying. Mummy? Mummy? Daddy is sleeping. Daddy, wake up!
Good evening, Mr. Bateman. Hello, little one. You must be Thomasina?
Yes.
My name is Nurse Blaketon. I just need to talk to your mummy for a little bit. I'm sorry to disturb you, Mrs. Bateman. Mrs. Bateman?
Will he ever talk again, Nurse Blaketon?
The doctor is uncertain, Mrs. Bateman. There is the possibility that Mr. Bateman won't regain any movement at all. But we will do our utmost to look after Mr. Bateman here at Ticehurst, ma'am. He will have a nurse by his side at all times, I can assure you.
What sort of god would allow this fate to befall such a kind and honest man?
I'm sorry to hear this. God moves in mysterious ways, but he loves us all. Come along now.
Hello? She scampered off in a hurry. Who was that?
Some primitive folk make their home out on the moors. I suggest you keep your wits about you when you are exploring, and don't stray too far from Beaumont.
I see. How much farther to Mr. Shoulder's house?
Still quite a walk, I'm afraid, but we'll get to him soon enough. Now then, take a look at this. Legend has it that this cairn has stood here for over 1,000 years.
How remarkable.
The Devil's Toe.
I beg your pardon?
That's what it's called. The Devil's Toe.
Oh, I see.
Come now, onward.
We walked and walked across that vast, featureless landscape. All the while, Father Roach was whistling away merrily. Just as I had begun to wonder if we were hopelessly lost, a building emerged from the mist. Mr. Shoulder's cottage.
Here we are, Miss Bateman. Unless my memory fails me completely, this is Mr. Leonard Shoulder's house.
Thank you for your help, Father Roach.
Now, no need to thank me after your providential assistance today. However, I have something to ask you.
Yes?
Please don't tell Mrs. de Plancy about my little scene in the woods. She will only fret. The poor dear woman has enough on her mind as it is.
I shan't mention it.
Thank you. You'd better see if Mr. Shoulder is in.
A sweet little hen, plump and well-groomed. A fearsome-looking... A sweet little hen. Here, chuk chuk chuk.
Don't encourage them.
He looks much too unruly. Care to hold one, Father Roach?
Put that thing down, would you?
You're no fun. Mr. Shoulder has stacked blocks of wood neatly beneath this small lean-to.
Very neat and tidy.
I've no desire to... A pair of thick woolen trousers. That glove looks familiar. I wonder if it matches the glove I found behind the plough and furrow. A woolen undergarment. That glove... I wonder if it matches the glove I found behind the plough and furrow. The gloves are a pair. Does this mean Mr. Shoulder was in the alley last night? Why didn't he come inside to see me? Slightly damp.
I have a similar one myself. So very warm.
The trousers feel damp. Freshly hung, or still wet from last night's rain? A carved stone has been affixed to the door. I think it depicts a crescent moon. Father, what do you make of this?
A peculiar adornment. I've not seen any like this in Beaulieu, though it does remind me of a passage by the bard himself. It is the very error of the moon. She comes nearer earth than she was wont, and makes men mad.
Othello?
Precisely, Miss Bateman. Your knowledge of the bard is presently flawless.
I consider myself to be well-read, Father Roach.
It's delightful to meet a fellow bookworm, I must say.
I'm rather fond of this colour. Perhaps Mr. Shoulder and I share similar taste. A carved stone has been... I think it depicts... It's bolted onto the door itself. I can't remove it. Mr. Shoulder? Is Thomasina Bateman here? I'm here in Beaulieu as discussed.
Maybe try again. His hearing probably isn't the best at his age.
Mr. Shoulder, are you home? It appears Mr. Shoulder is not at home. Curses.
Perhaps you could try the handle?
It's locked.
No sign of life?
None. The window is nice and clean. The dwelling is by no means abandoned.
Perhaps he's gone for a stroll.
Possibly.
I'd suggest you call back later, my child. I myself must make my way back home. I have some matters to attend to at the church. Shall I accompany you back to Beaulieu?
No, you go ahead, Father. Thank you.
As you wish. Farewell, Miss Bateman. I hope Mr. Shoulder finds his way to you.
Thank you for your help, Father Roach.
My pleasure. Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Romeo and Juliet?
Correct. That I shall say good night till it be morrow. You've proven yourself to be an impeccable scholar of the bard, my child. Lord be with you.
Well, Mr. Shoulder, you've brought me to Beaulieu, and now you're nowhere to be found. No sign of any movement. This must provide a charming view across. I've no desire to... That is not coming off. No, that's not it. This key doesn't fit. No, that won't. That's a peculiar... He looks much too unruly. You're a sweet little thing, aren't you? I don't wish to beat my... I can't see how that will... That's a peculiar... No. Mr. Shoulder must have dropped the map. What was he doing? Rather rude of him not to come inside. The window is much too high up. No sign of any... No sign of any movement. I've come a long way to meet you, Mr. Shoulder. Please open the door. Mr. Shoulder continues to prove himself elusive. As I trudged back to Beaulieu across those cold moors, I made a new resolution. I would find Hob's Barrow myself, with or without Mr. Shoulder. The train! That must be Kenneth. I should go and meet him at the station. Margaret's Lookout. I wonder who Margaret is, or was. William Paxton, modest and gentle of heart. Here lies Elizabeth Farnaby. Samuel Bryden. Death is only a shadow across the path to heaven. Here lies Margaret Tillett, beloved mother, wife, and sister. Today she dances with angels. Joseph Davis. Forever in light, Anne Kemp. John Purchase, dearly beloved husband of Florence. This appears to be a recently dug, unmarked grave. This appears to... I may be a barrow digger, but... Where is Kenneth? He was supposed to wait for me at the station.